Hey guys, it's Ross Tritipo with CitruScrub Carpet Cleaning here in beautiful sunny Indianapolis, Indiana. Sunny today. And today we're going to talk about 10 things I hate about my Butler system. Now the truth is, I actually love my Butler system. There's a reason I've bought 3 of them. But when you're making a fun top 10 list about stuff you hate, you got to come up with 10 things. So I'll admit, most of these are a little nitpicky, but I like negativity. I like to hate stuff. So I went the extra mile and came up with 10 things just for you guys. I also have to tell you, this is a working van. This ain't no trailer queen. And it rained yesterday. So some of my stuff got a little dirty and a little muddy yesterday. If you see dirty stuff in my van, just chill out. I'll clean it up, okay? I'm not a dirty person. So the top 10 things, let's start in descending order. Number 10, I hate these tags. See that right there? Butler puts these warranty tags on flipping everything. I mean, why do you need a warranty tag on a 3-inch plastic elbow? Look, there's one on top of the recovery tank. There's one on top of the freshwater tank. And the more you inspect your van, the more of those tags you'll find. They are all over the place. They even put them on accessories like the wand. I think I peeled mine off already. Let's go check. Usually they will put a tag up inside that bracket or underneath the valve or somewhere. I think I already peeled it off. They put a warranty tag on the wand. Even stuff like this. The pressure gauge. There's a tag on the back of that. They're just all over the place. So, like I said, a little nitpicky, not the end of the world. Number 9. Butler sets their vans up wonky. Now, what do I mean by that? When you order a new Butler, if you don't specify how you want it set up, they're going to put a male connect on your solution line. And they're going to put a female connect on your wand and all of the other tools and accessories that come on with your Butler system. Now, I don't like that because it's just not the way I was trained. I, for 20 years, have had a female fitting on my solution line, and all my tools and accessories have male ends. So I have to rework the whole truck. I got to replace all of the fittings and everything so that it's set up the way that I like. Now, I understand why they do it. One of the reasons why is they know that people are going to drag this across driveways and parking lots when they're rolling up the solution line. And the thought is male fittings are cheaper, so let's put the cheaper part on the solution line, and it's not going to cost as much when you need to replace it. But to that, I say, don't drag it across stuff. I carry this back to my van, and then I roll up my solution line. So the solution line is dragging across the driveway or the sidewalk, but the connect is just sitting there until the very last minute when I roll it up onto the reel. And plus, the way I see it is, if you are rolling up this hose and there's a male fitting on it, I don't want the outside of that fitting getting all nicked up and dinged up, because it needs to keep a pretty good seal on the inside of your female part. And the female part is protected. The part that needs to keep a good seal is never going to get dragged on anything. So it doesn't make sense to me to put the male on the solution line. Does that make sense to you? It makes sense to me. All right, number 8. We're going to have to go through this. I'm taking too long. Ooh, let's go. Look here in the driver's footwell. Not that big of a deal in the winter, but when you were driving one of these bad boys in the summer and you finish up like a 6-hour-long residential, you feel blazing heat on your leg coming from this drive shaft or maybe from underneath this cowling. I really don't know where it's coming from, but your right leg will absolutely be scorched down here. And I like to keep my legs looking sexy. I don't want them getting scorched. So again, it's a little bit nitpicky, and it's not nearly as bad as having like a giant slide-in unit in the back of your van that's putting off tremendous heat. It's kind of just a little nuisance type thing, but I'll tell you what, on a hot August day, after you've done a long job and this van is nice and hot and you hop in here and you drive to the next stop, this thing is going to scorch the crap out of your leg. Ooh, this is a good one. Number 7 thing that I hate about my Butler is Butler's electric vacuum hose reel rewind system. Now my van didn't come with that, thank God, because I do not like Butler's setup. I'll be honest, Butler's setup is better than having nothing at all, but I think that it's over-engineered, it's not powerful enough, and it does not make use of mechanical advantage. So normally what happens is there's a cover here, and underneath the cover is an electric motor, and then the motor is intertwined with a clutch system, and inside, between the motor and the clutch, there's a little rubber gear, and the motor spins the gear, and the clutch disengages and engages. It's just overwrought, it's over-engineered, and it's turning all this mass of this hose reel on that little rubber gear that's like on, you know, let's call this an axle. The axis that goes through this hose reel is all being turned in the middle of what's essentially the axle. There's no mechanical advantage at all. So a better system is like the classic powered vacuum hose reel you'd see in most other vans, where there's a belt that goes around this big wagon wheel, and there's just tons of mechanical advantage that way. They're faster, they're more powerful, and there's no freaking clutch. That clutch drives me crazy. Junk gets in there and between the clutch plates, and it'll start to slide, and I just don't like Butler's setup. I love Butler. I hate even saying anything bad about them, but that electric vac reel setup they use is a weak point in my opinion. I'm just not a fan of it. Okay. Ooh, number 6. Flaky black paint. What do I mean about that? Well, these basins down here are painted black, which is not a good idea. So I bought this edge trim. I know it's ugly, but I put it around these basins because after a while, look, it's already started. This is a brand new Butler. Look at that. See how the black paint has flaked off of there? And before long, this whole basin starts to flake off. All of the black paint comes off. I don't know if it's a cost-saving thing. Like, I think it's aluminum. Why not just anodize it black and keep it looking good forever? And normally there's like a plastic grid that goes in here, and you can see right through it. So the paint starts flaking off the inside of this basin all down here on the flat part on the bottom, and you can see it through the plastic grid that's in there, and it's just so ugly. It looks dirty no matter how clean you keep your van. So I put this edge trim on there. Yeah, it looks kind of dumb. I put a piece of carpet in there to hide that basin because even though it's a new van, I figured it's going to start flaking. And look at that. It's already started to flake. That's lame. Anodize that crap. Number 5. This is going to be controversial. Maybe not, I don't know. I don't like Butler's live vacuum hose reel. So when I get a new Butler, the first thing I do is get rid of the live vacuum hose setup. So what they do is they run a hose from the top of this recovery tank, and it goes to this black part here. And this black part goes through the hub of the vac hose reel straight to your vac hose. So when you turn the machine on, you've already got air flowing through that vac hose. Well, the problem is if you keep 150 feet or 200 feet of vacuum hose on that reel, you don't want to leave it all coiled up on the reel because you don't have any vacuum power. The more curves or 90-degree angles there are in your vacuum system, the less power you have. It slows down the air and causes turbulence. And obviously you want full vacuum power, which means on every single job, you've got to pull off all of that vacuum hose and lay it out straight if you're going to use their live vacuum hose reel setup. And I don't want to do that on every job. Not to mention, on a lot of jobs, you're only going to need 50, 60, 75, 100 feet of hose, and it doesn't make sense to have 200 feet of vacuum hose on a 75-foot run. So what I immediately do is get rid of their live vac hose reel setup. I know a lot of guys really like it. I don't fault you for that. It is super convenient. I'll give you that. But I'm more about performance, I think, than convenience. Okay, number 4. You're gonna like this one. I call it the horrible nipple. Let me show you what I mean. I've broken a fortune worth of these little parts. If you ever need to rebuild your chemical injection pump, you kind of have to take it apart to get to the guts of it. And this brass piece right here, when you unscrew it out of this block, there is a tiny, and I mean tiny, threaded nipple on the inside of that threads into this block here. Blast block, what am I even saying? It is so tiny, you cannot put hardly any torque on this fitting at all. I mean, really, you just need to hand tighten it when you put it back on. If you go any more torque on that past about hand tightening it, it completely obliterates that tiny little nipple that's on the other end of this brass piece. And I have been so frustrated trying to rebuild these pumps because I'm super macho and like extremely powerful, and even though I'm just hand tightening those, I still break them. And I've gone through so many of those. It's a really hard part to find. You pretty much have to order it from Butler. They're $40 just for this little piece of brass, 40 bucks. And then you try to screw it in here and immediately break it. Just imagine how frustrating that is. Makes me want to kick my own children, and I love my children. So that's the horrible nipple. Number 3. All right, let's go look in the back again. Grab my little reference paper here. I've got the MidMount tanks in this particular Butler, as opposed to having the waste tank on one side and the freshwater tank on the other side. They kind of smush them together and put them in the middle. So it's nice because you get a bunch of floor space back here, but now you don't have like a clear tunnel that goes up into the cab of the van. And I clean a lot of rugs. This is my first mid-mount setup that I've had. And I can cram a ton of stuff on here if I need to, but I can't shove a long rug through the tanks anymore. There's no opening that goes up into the cab of the van. So if I need to put like a huge 10 by 13 wool rug that weighs about 200 pounds on this van, it is really hard to smash it in here now. I kind of have to fold it up like a piece of paper rather than rolling it up. That was the side door closing. And it's really hard to carry, it's heavy, and it's just not my favorite thing. I kind of miss that about having the side tanks instead of the mid-mount tanks. It's a lot harder to squeeze rugs in here now. Number 2 is the freshwater sight tube. Let's check this out. And this is a problem that's unique to the mid-mount setup. If you have the classic setup where your freshwater tank is over here on this wall of the van, the sight tube works great. But on this, the sight tube is just really hard to read. Let's see if I can get you at a good angle here. Okay. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. So you see the little red ball there where it's floating up and down. And you can kind of see back there where it says empty. See that? Well, that's not true. When that red ball shows empty, you actually have probably like 20 or 30 gallons left in that tank. So that's been hard to get used to. I always think that I'm out of water because that little red ball is floating right on empty, but then I clean for like another hour. Also, the top of the mid-mount tank is real skinny. See up here, this is your freshwater tank. So the top of it's this triangle shape, and then, you know, the big bulky meaty part of the tank is down here. So on that sight tube, this first part goes, whoa, when you're cleaning, it's just like your water just disappears. And you think, wow, am I leaking water somewhere? I'm going through so much water. And then you get down to the big meaty part, and that little red ball hardly moves at all. That's hard to get used to as well. But the most annoying part about it is how when it shows that you're empty, you still have like 30 gallons in there. And the number one thing I hate about my Butler is this frickin' side door. Look at the sliding side door and look at where the vacuum hose reel is. It is so hard to roll up hose in an opening like that where your vacuum hose reel is around the corner of the door. It's like back behind the door. You have to be some kind of circus contortionist to twist in there and be able to roll up your vacuum hose. Unless you have a powered vacuum hose reel, which I do. Now, I mentioned I didn't have Butlers set up a little earlier where they would have a little motor over here and it looks all pretty and it's all enclosed. I hooked up my own ugly little system, but it works great. I really struggled with this fan when I first got it because you're trying to roll up the vacuum hose with one hand and you're trying to guide it in with the other around the corner, and you're trying not to scratch up your paint or your wrap. It was just so horrible. But once I got mine electrified, it's much easier now. I just push the button with one hand, I guide the hose in with my other. Problem solved. Props to me. I am a hero. So those are 10 things I hate about my Butler. Want to do a quick recap? Number 10, stupid tags on everything. Number 9, comes wonky. I don't like how they have the fittings. I have to change them all. Number 8, it's going to scorch the crap out of your leg in that driver's footwell. Number 7, I don't like the... Oh, I might have switched a couple things here. I don't like the Butler power vac hose reel. No, that's how I did it. Number 6, don't like the flaky paint. Number 5, don't like the live vacuum hose reel. Boy, the vacuum hose reel is kind of a weak link, isn't it? Number 4, I don't like the horrible nipple. Number 3, can't fit rugs. Number 2, the freshwater tank sight tube. Number 1, stupid side door and vac hose reel. They are not oriented conveniently. I do want to go back on record though and say the Butler system is amazing. There's no reason that you should buy anything else. It's the best power takeoff machine on the market, and if you don't get one, you're weird and lame, and when you go to family reunions, everybody thinks you smell.